Good day, everyone, and God bless all of you. My name is Dr. Alex British Chinedu Tasie from Ishopo community, which is in Ikwere local government area of Rivers State of Nigeria, West Africa. And by the grace of God, I am a writer, a musician, a filmmaker, a football coach, a historian, and a multidimensional thinker. What I have here to talk about is an advocacy matter. An advocacy matter. An advocacy for Nigeria as a nation to establish a political school for our Nigerian people. For the government of this country, whether at the federal level, state level, or local government level, to establish what I call political school for the people of this country, so that those who desire to be leaders politically, to govern us in this country, can have a place where they can go to have appropriate mentorship, adequate training, tutorials on how to govern mankind and govern mankind well. I think it is important that Nigeria as a country establishes, a political school for the people of this country. Those who want to be leaders can go to that school and have proper training, proper mentorship, proper tutorship, so that when they come out and get on board as leaders, we will expect the best from them. I am aware that people go to our higher institutions of learning to learn a course or a discipline called political science. It is a wide course, but you see, it is like it is not enough. What people who go there to learn, and what they learn is not enough. And that is why you see when they graduate, they are not properly equipped with the art and science of governing other people and governing them well. So Nigeria should have a school primarily for those who desire to rule mankind, so that the people who know what politics and governance is all about, the people that are tested in Nigeria here and outside Nigeria, can come and inject the right principles of governance into the people who desire to be leaders. And that is my advocacy. The way we play politics in Nigeria here is not the right way. Nigerian people define politics as a game. They see politics as a game like the game of football, chess, and other games, where you can bring in any kind of antics, where you can deploy and employ any kind of ugly vices to win election and win government control. So people come in from different backgrounds, socially, ethnically, religiously, politically, and otherwise, and forward themselves into the political system without proper breeding, without proper training, without proper mentorship. So when they come out, you will not expect anything different. So politics is supposed to be seen as a practice that has a mission and not as a game where you bring in all kinds of advantages, all kinds of guises, all kinds of influences to win government control. It is an act of winning government control. Politics is the father of government, and government is the father of leadership. It is through the process of politics that we can have a government. And when a government is formed, what comes next is leadership. Whether the leadership will be good or not, it is through the government that will be formed that leadership can come out from. So it is very, very expedient and essential as a nation that we imbibe the right channel to get leaders that will rule us. Since 1960 to this day, Nigeria has not got it right because the people who involve themselves into politics are not properly trained. They go there with different reasons. They go there with different motives, mostly for selfish interests. So I have been advocating that Nigeria establishes a school in this country, primarily where people who desire to rule us can go for mentorship, can go for training, can go for lecturing, for education, and what have you. And by that, we might get it right. In the year of 2007, one of my articles, because at that time I wrote so many articles and some newspapers in Nigeria published them out. Some in the newspaper we call the Niger Delta Standard. I can't lay hands on any of them. But one of the leading newspapers in the city of Port Harcourt called the Environment Watch published one of my articles titled "Nigeria Needs a Political School." So this is the newspaper. It is called Environment Watch. It is the link to get the story of what I want to talk about here. The issue is Environment Watch, Volume 3, Number 2, 31st March 2007. Issuance record or whatever is ISSN 1119-2739. So in this newspaper, I published an article on how to have a political school for Nigeria in the year of 2007. And here is the read with the headline, "Nigeria needs a political school." Now let's go. If we may ask ourselves this question, what is politics? What is politics? I think we may all come to a conclusion or definition about this subject matter. The Longman Dictionary vividly defines politics as the act or science of government The dictionary further explains that politics is all about talking and winning government control. Well, for whatever angle politics is being defined, I believe the resultant reflection should be the governed and the subjects. Government itself is defined as the act and ruling by a selected, appointed, elected, or by those who take government by force to govern other people. And as such, politics and government are inalienable and inseparable. In a categorical view, the headache and act of governing should be man's problem. Politics today in Nigeria is more of an illicit and ignominious participation, and as such is inimical to the Nigerian comfort. Politics in Nigeria is too neat for a conventional acceptance. Considering the system of politics being played in Nigeria today, one would not hesitate to conclude that it is absurd, mundane, reckless, selfish, and acrimonious. Participation in politics in Nigeria is more of a self-centered one than that of a general interest and concern. There is a sharp contrast and drift from the original meaning of politics and governance in Nigeria. In contrast, what we have now is the politics of neglect instead of politics of concern. The selfish overtures which characterized the then politics of the late Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and Alhaji Tafawa Balewa is becoming a thing of the past. And in replacement, what we have now littering our political terrain is maiming, assassination, blackmailing, accusation, and counter-accusation of unimaginable proportions. Our politicians claim to be heroes where they have failed, and in payback to the masses that stand in the rain and sun to vote them into power when real and proper election takes place is what we have as abject poverty, neglect, and forgetfulness. In no melodramatic sense, Nigerian political tension is more heightened than that of a hypertension, patient. If one should ask this question, what was the real fulcrum for lifting our political independence? By all standards, Nigeria was not subjected to an economic, social, or religious colonization by the white people. Pre-independence, the different regions that existed in Nigeria, even before amalgamation, had their defined patterns of governance. At least history explained the pattern of politics played then before taking government control. Perhaps it was the same crude pattern, maybe. Nigeria was only subjected to a political colonization before independence. So why did Tafawa Balewa, Awolowo, and Zik advocate for a self-rule when at last our country would be subjected to such a political radical, an act which is very noisome? On a fair play and dispassionate argument. We should have zeroed our minds about the independence struggle and allowed the British to continue their rule if we cannot manage our affairs ourselves. The sincere struggles of our nationalist fathers have been deflated to nothingness, and as a result, our country is defamed, abused internationally, and made the laughingstock of the world. Of a considerable point, the struggle for power in Nigeria is of immeasurable degree than the struggle for economic development. Every politician in this country believes he or she has the instinctive flair to carry Nigeria to his or her long desired and denied place of status and repute if given the opportunity to prove himself or herself. But somewhere in his or her inner mind, deceit is really lurking. In Nigeria, the hand of politics is open to anybody to come in, and many have graced the opportunity to walk in. Ritualists or ritual people, 419ers, cult and occult people, party flesh, ethnic jingoists, tyrants, villains, drug pushers and peddlers, magicians, aberos, money launderers, and robbers can now join politics once they can carry with them some Ghana must go back to INEC officials and the doorsteps of decision makers. A demented person in a psychiatric hospital can also indicate his or her interest to contest for any elective position, and he or she might be asked to come around once he or she can meet up with the requirements by parting with something. So you can see the kind of crops and creeds of politicians we have in this country. Demented people, ethnic jingoists, party flesh, court men, and idiots. To these kinds of politicians, the real image of purposeful governance is far behind in their minds, and the meaning of rancor, bitterness are substituted. To those who fall off from the favor of a ruling government for one reason or the other, inordinate languages, blackmail, and accusations mark their aggressions to come back to political prominence. The masses should also have a whip of the lash. Sometimes their expectations are beyond realities. This is amenable to the fact that they have not had the opportunity to have their behaviors properly shaped and oriented. The masses see these positions as heroes and demigods even when they have erred and subsequently failed. The masses fall too cheaply at the least political antics of these corrupt politicians. They are being frequently cheated and exploited. They fall in line too quickly as 50 naira notes are being shared during elections, but are entirely left out when the real millions and billions are being shared in offices and houses through the Ghana must go bags, or worse still, laundered abroad. Well, what would a poor man do? At least that 50 naira might solve some problems, or even give a meal to the poor person. Considering this argument, I think it will be wise for the country to have a political school where the real leaders can be nurtured and bred so that they can handle our political affairs with courage, maturity, respect, and concern. Ultimately, and concern. Let's go on. Where they will be taught the real gains of a well-defined method of governance, where they will be taught the selfless and radiant tenets that good governance should uphold, where money should not mean everything but legacies. This school should at least, before anything, sterilize and filter our politicians before being elected into any political office. This school should be able to give certificates to qualified and accredited politicians and certify them fit without any bias and prejudice to run for important political positions. The school should, above anything, lecture and educate young politicians on what politics is all about and its reflections on the civil populace. In this school, issues of topical nitty-gritties relating to politics and governance should be tutored to aspiring politicians and leaders into credible offices. The masses should also be lectured on the totality of politics and followership. The civil populace should be taught on how to follow politicians during elections. Let's go on. At least, if the political tricks which they use to debase the electorates are taught to the civilians, then the politicians may be a little bit careful and withdrawn. Apart from orientation, this school can offer more in terms of educating the citizens on the type of political parties that can deliver the right expectations of the people by going through their political manifestos. In this suggested school, Nigerian politicians should be taught the real essence of governance without interlacing internecine activities within the political polity. Since 1999, when this third republic was instituted and installed till now, one good political observer will not hesitate to agree quickly that the country has witnessed unpopular incidents of killings, political unrest in almost every part of the country, including the kidnappings of foreign nationals working with oil companies around the Niger Delta. Damaging accusations and its expected denials, rancor and hatred, including other acidic crimes being perpetrated daily and regularly by our so-called politicians and leaders. Issues of third-term bid, Alame Sia's money laundering saga, Marshall Harris and AKD Kibos, Bola Ige's and Funsho Alabi's deaths, Abacha's and Ken Saro-Wiwa's matter, Babangida's and Abacha's and late Chief MK Abiola's matter, impeachment sagas in the Senate and House of Representatives, political wizardry and witchcraft in the system, Omar Diko and extradition matter, Evans Ewenem and Buhari certificate forgery, political blackmail, double crossing, over ambition for power, or the demolition, uneven distribution of national resources, culminating into Owazirike and Biafra secession struggle, marginalization of the South people, which has resulted to Asare Dokubo's onslaught on the Nigerian nation, And what's more, the wasting of our resources and money on uncompleted and insignificant government projects. In this school, every politician, be you the president, governor, house member, senator, local government chairman, or councillor, should be taught that the only topical issue in governance is not to use the position to play tribal politics, hunt political enemies, bank millions and billions of dollars and naira in foreign banks, become ethnic jingoists, collect people's wives, build cyberite houses, and buy the most exotic cars for oneself, drag another person's land, take undeserved chieftaincy titles, create artificial fuel scarcity for selfish reasons, initiate anti-corruption agencies and bodies which do not investigate their creators and initiators, but which are created to hunt political enemies. In this school, the aspiring politicians should know that a good and objective government should shine like the sun on the faces of every Nigerian citizen. They should know that they are answerable to the people as their servants and not villains. They should know that they should be accountable to the populace and serve their fatherland sacrificially and honorably. Politics should not be seen as a contest of ring and fire or a do-or-die affair. It should not be seen as an enterprise where everything must be put at stake to ensure victory, including sacrificing a human being for it. The school should be bold to appreciate the good services of past rulers to instill into the minds of the younger generations. And politicians that good service has a reward. The school should also be bold to teach the younger politicians the merits, ugly activities, insignificant and purposeless projects embarked by a previous regime, so that the younger politicians will learn from that. In this school, Nigeria's image should be paramount to any aspiring politician. Politicians should be taught how to work hard towards developing science and technology so that our dependence on the West for survival will be broken. Politicians should also be taught and reminded that the law of fundamental human rights supersedes any law of the state. As election is at the corner once again, come April 2007, before the literal setting of this school, Nigerian politicians and future leaders should know that man is created to govern the earth. But how we do this is what becomes most interesting. Our conscience should be our school. It should teach us what good it is to govern mankind well and what expected dividends it should yield. Therefore, my advice as a writer is that our treasure rich, highly populated and highly professors-full, imposing landmass and multi-ethnic backgrounds should have a political school where our future aspiring leaders should not be just political mice, where in the real sense they should be political dunces and idiots, but leaders that will carry Nigeria and indeed Africa to an enviable height. This is the end of the read. This article was published in the year of 2007, and as I have said, it is an advocacy, to implore, to endear the Nigerian state to set up a political school, primarily to teach, to mentor, to tutor, aspiring leaders on how to rule well, on how to lead well. This is what this is all about. And I think it is one of the ways, to correcting the ills, the malaise, the woes we have in our political system. Nigeria is not moving on the right track since 1960 to this day.